Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Mind Your Mouth podcast. I am your host, Melissa Mugnow. Today, we are doing things a little bit different. As you can see, it is just me, kind of in a more intimate setting. And one part of this podcast that I wanted to really lean into was a little bit of me being able to represent who I am and some of the other opportunities and skills that I have. And one of my big aspects of my company is my consulting firm. And the consulting firm is something that has been a massive part of my life for the last 12, 13 years. It's actually probably been the larger driving force of my business, even more than just therapy itself. And I wanted to use this opportunity to kind of talk a little bit and kind of be very real and transparent and off the cusp, to be honest, to really talk about what exactly consulting and business development is all about, because it's the number one question I get asked all the time, besides, what exactly is airway? But it's ultimately like, how do I implement it? How do I build it? How do I get this concept or this business off the ground? And for a long time, I so focused on just doing like therapy or doing what I knew within the dental office. But ultimately, what I started to realize was that I had this gift or this opportunity to see things from a larger perspective. And the one thing that I had that was really, really unique was that I trusted the process so much. I trusted the fact that I knew that muscles and tongues had such a big impact on the way the teeth were affected. I like never thought twice about it. And therefore, in any dental office I ever walked into, or in any time I was talking to a professional, to a doctor, I I was so confident because it was like this innate understanding and feeling inside of me. Like I never questioned it. It's like I knew on such like an internal level, like it was so personal that I never questioned whether what we were doing was wrong. I just always was trying to figure out the how. So that was the one area that I knew was like really tricky, was people figuring out how to do things. And it brought me back to this last year where I've been really spending time kind of looking over all the projects that I have done and all the businesses that I've been able to be part of. And for some of you guys don't know, I also worked with businesses outside of dental. Two of my first businesses that I was part of was my own. Myself and a girlfriend opened an art school with no understanding. She was an artist, but I just had this initial feeling that I knew I could get that started. And I took her idea and I created it and cultivated it into a business. It's called the Art House. And she had this amazing talent and this amazing gift. And in the beginning, we just started to create different products and different things we could offer within the umbrella of art. And it was such a fun project. And it was really amazing to realize that if you just kind of could think it, you could create it. And I think once you get hooked in that entrepreneurial spirit, you kind of can't look back. And then I continued to like move on and work on a business that was a medi spa with another girlfriend. And I did that one out of my house in my kitchen. But one of the things is that I realized in every business that I've been with or anyone that I had worked with, I had this undeniable belief in what they were doing. And because of that, it was so simple for me to kind of go in and be able to look at it from a larger perspective and realize how we could get it to consumers, market it and support it, and ultimately create a business for it. But one of the things is I learned through all of it was I didn't really ultimately trust myself that much. I kind of started to hide behind the fact that I didn't really think that I had a particular talent. I thought it was more that I just could take their talent and make a business out of it. I didn't realize that actually my talent was seeing their gift. right? And being able to see how great they were or see how great their services were or their product was. And ultimately, I was able to take their vision and their idea and create it into a more streamlined, scalable business. And for a long time, I didn't even realize that was a unique skill. I didn't really know that about myself. But one area that I recognized was that I really needed to spend more time looking at me, right? Because a lot of us, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I think most of you can, is that some of us that don't have a really clear understanding of who we are and don't understand exactly what we're trying to build, it's not hard to work or make money or build businesses. A lot of us can do that. It's about creating and cultivating a business or a project that is so large and so big to your vision, like to your plan, right? Like that it doesn't just move the needle for success, but it actually brings this larger than life feeling to you, right? Like it makes you feel fulfilled on a, an inside feeling. They say the key to life is that we all have to work, but when you get to do something that you absolutely love, but it doesn't even feel like work, that you would do it even if you didn't even make money. And that is this really amazing concept. But a lot of times we find these passion projects or we find these big ideas or this big thing that we want to do, but then we all of a sudden can't make money out of it. And then people around us will start to say, it's not scalable. You're not scalable. I used to hear that all the time that I wasn't scalable. You don't have a repeatable process, and that ultimately you will never be able to truly scale your business or make money out of it if you don't do that. And that has ultimately become like my obsession and my passion is, can you bring clarity and take somebody's true passion and make it a scalable, reliable business? And the answer, of course, is yes. And there's 1,000 content creators and coaches and development people that are doing this and doing it really, really well. But there's an area that I realize is that the ability to coach leaders and get them to see inside of them what's actually driving them to do this passion project or whatever their next place is, create legacy, create change. That requires a different mindset. That requires you having the ability to almost sit back and trust people around you and to allow other people to make up your shortcomings, right? Like I didn't even really truly understand the importance of team and being able to have people on your team until these last couple years. When I say the only way to truly build and scale and to make money is to spend money and to spend money on teams and bring people in that are better than you at other things and can see your blind spots and can fill you up and support you and also be able to call you out and you don't get offended and that you can take a deep breath and see that they're coming from a good place. That is so crucial and absolutely so important for scalability and for you to be able to achieve your goals and to truly be able to achieve your desired ultimate top of the mountain success. Because a lot of us will look successful or will think we're successful, but the truth is we don't all have the same level of success. What success is for me may be different than what success is for you. And that is its own unique way of looking at things because we're all programmed and we're all taught to be, to whatever success may mean, whether that be the house you live in, the car you drive, how much money you make. I mean, that's ultimately what a lot of us chalk up to being successful, right? Like I couldn't live in that house if I wasn't successful. I couldn't drive that car if I wasn't successful. And I think a lot of us sometimes struggle with never enough, wanting to achieve more. And I know this is an area that I really, really internally dealt with, still working through. And Of course, we want to make money so that we have the energy and the capacity to be able to keep supporting our larger mission or whatever our purpose is. And the way we generate that energy is all about us being able to transcend and expand. And the truth is, if it's just about the numbers, it's never going to be enough, right? Because I was listening to another podcast and I thought it was really interesting to hear what they said. It's like, you know, how much you make every month, your production, your collections, whether you're an entrepreneur or whatever, it's more money, more money, more money. And instead of looking at like, what is the legacy? What is the bigger picture? And if you get really clear and you get really super focused about what you're trying to do and trying to build, that ultimately it starts to unravel and make more sense. And I think that ability to get really clear about what you want can be really challenging. I know for a fact it's been challenging for me. It's been so much easier for me to build other people's businesses or help them achieve their goals than it was my own. And that's when I truly realized I had just created the job for myself because I didn't 100% even know exactly why I was doing what I was doing. And I needed to sit back and really take a look at myself and ask, why am I doing this? Am I just doing it for a paycheck? Which, hey, thank gosh for the paycheck. It paid the bills. It's what allowed me to support my family, allowed me to get through some of the really tough times. But I was defining myself based off of how much money I made. And to be 100% transparent with you guys, I put myself in such tough positions because what would happen is I would get into these relationships where I would meet somebody who had skill sets, resources, whether they were doctors or the nurse practitioner or whoever it was that had this skill set that they wanted to then build a business off of. And then they knew they needed somebody like me. And so we would partner. And eventually, the truth is they didn't need my services anymore, right? They didn't really need my services. They really needed to grow and flourish on their own. But because I didn't set the contract up right, I didn't know my own self-worth. I didn't really know who I was and what I brought to the table. I created a bunch of situations that ultimately ended up so poorly because I didn't communicate properly what the exit strategy was because I didn't honestly think I needed one because I thought we'd be partners forever, not recognizing that in that season where my skill set was really, really helpful and really, really useful to get them to where they needed to be so they could eventually move on to their next goal and their next place. And then that's when I would have dipped out and I instead would have built this like really amazing testimonial and this great relationship. I ended up leaving it on a negative place and then ultimately feeling really, really deflated and feeling like as if I had failed instead of being able to highlight and really showcase what I did do and what greatness I brought into it. And also knowing my financial worth in that space, right? That space is really a unique skill. That's my area of genius, my area of greatness is that I can bring this energy and I can see things and I can ultimately expand and help a lot of people see their self-worth in a very unique space that others just sometimes can't see in themselves. Right. My favorite line is, I wish you could see yourself the way we see you. And so let's do that as an exercise. When you truly start to identify who you are and what your area of genius is, and be able to have that self confidence of knowing where your greatness lies, where your strengths are, it is so amazing what opens up and what opportunities present because a lot of times we do focus on what we're not good at. We're always focusing on our areas of weakness and we're not really focusing on our areas of strength. And there is this saying that I live by, and you guys have heard it, and you'll probably hear it on every episode, is that where your mind goes, your energy flows. And if your mind stays in that negative place, that is all you will see. And it is the most true and impactful saying ever. I mean, it has ultimately changed my life. And I worked with this coach that that was his saying. And he used to constantly, two things he taught me was where your mind goes, your energy flows. And secondly, it was how are you vibing? Where is your vibe at? And your vibe was all made up and surrounded by your like life balance, and it was put into houses, and it was made up of the things that matter: finances, religion, family, friends, spiritual, God, health, love. And each one of these areas you would rate, and your work, your purpose, and you would give them a number. And he would tell you to get really detailed to the number. He would say, like, okay, so your money, oh, it's like a 3. He's like, well, let's go even deeper. Is it like a 3.5 or is it like a 3.2? And then you would take those numbers and you would create this mathematical equation, and you would then determine what your vibe number was. And when I first started working with him, my number was at a 6. Every day I was vibing so low. And I realized it was because I was always focusing on areas that were the negative ones. And I just, it was like this lack of balance. And through months and times of working with him and developing, what I recognized was that I had the ability to focus and change these moments. And all of a sudden, I started to really celebrate the wins. And it took about 6 to 8 months before I had like a really big high day. And I was like at a 9. And then one day I was like, oh, I think I'm vibing at a 10 today. And when the first time I ever vibed at a 10, I just remember sitting back and being like, oh, this is what like peace is. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like I had $1 million in the bank. It was definitely a day that I was by the water. I've had a couple of them, but it was definitely a day that I was like, my feet were in the sand, I'm in the water. And it was just this like peaceful moment. Like I didn't have to react at anything. I was just truly still. I was just like content. And a lot of those tens, those days that I've had that were tens, I was by myself. And that was a really unique thing for me to learn, to recognize that I actually could have these huge days all by myself. Because for a long time, I thought I just needed other people to fill my cup. And because of that, that was really dangerous because other people had such power over my existence, over my being, over how happy I was. And these last 4 years, as I've been really unraveling and going through this healing journey, and my healing journey has been like not for everybody. It's been multiple different techniques and things that I've done. I've had to work a lot on my mental health. I've had to work on so many human behaviors and really recognizing how much I was suppressing and like pushing so many of my feelings down because I just was trying to numb myself so much. And so I would numb myself with shopping and food and all kinds of things just to not, you know, feel or feel something good for a short period of time just so I could kind of like shift the energy so I didn't feel the negative. I was so reactive so much all the time. And it was just because I was so insecure because all I really ever wanted was like to just fit in, to be accepted. And the truth is, I wasn't accepted or fit in my own body, right? The only person that truly I didn't like was myself. And I was looking for validation from so many other people. I wanted other people to say, good job, you are doing great, right? Like, I love you, I need you, I want you. And then having to recognize that I need to be able to do that for myself because then that's the only way you're going to attract the people and the type of things that you want for your business or for yourself, for your brand, your personal brand, your life brand, whatever it may be. And I am so grateful for my work because the work that I get to do has truly been such an instrumental part in me truly learning who I am and just such a catalyst and just like triumphant part of where I am today. And entrepreneurship is a very unique space because I think at heart we are just these seekers of like wanting to be enlightened, wanting to grow and to be better and figure out how we can unpeel this onion and unravel. And, to bring this slightly full circle kind of back to when I started this initial podcast, with, today's episode was about a little bit of my consulting firm and like how I got there and like what I was doing. The thing about airway or wellness or airway dentistry, what it did was that most of the providers and the doctors that you hear me talk to, that I've been interviewing, it's because they went outside their comfort zone. They're in a passion project, right? They knew how to do something because they were taught how to do it and they do it really well. And then all of a sudden they want to embark and unravel and open up this other project that is a passion project that is a little messy. It's not as clean. There's not an architectural blueprint for them to exactly do it. And they might not make money right away. They're actually going to probably spend a lot of more money than they'll make in the beginning. And that is so uncomfortable for so many of them and for so many of you, because a lot of you guys didn't set out maybe to think that you were going to be these entrepreneurs or these people that are trying to change the world or do something different. You just wanted to have it to be this separate business, but it's not. It's going to make you vulnerable. It makes you uncomfortable. But that is where this like amazing growth happens. And you get this ability to learn who you are. And it's so messy. It's so not pretty. It's not neat. It's not tidy. It's frustrating. It's amazing. It's invigorating. It's exhausting. It's like all these things, which is exactly what entrepreneurship is and what business building is. It's like this adrenaline high, it's an excitement, and then it's this frustration. And what it does is it like invokes, opens up this area that like becomes like primal, like it's reactive. Like even the most like steady leaders that I've ever met, like these people that are like so dialed in, they get into these uncomfortable situations, which we're going to say is like this opportunity to get into this new business. And all of a sudden, it highlights all this other area in their life that maybe isn't perfect. And it's scary and it makes them want to like run away. But then it's also this a beautiful moment that they get to like grow and they get to learn something about themselves. And that is just amazing to watch and see what is possible if you can learn to just stick it out and get a little uncomfortable being uncomfortable and focus on the positive. Obviously, you have to be aware and you got to get organized and you need to be able to be efficient and work through it and project management and all these different aspects that you need. But there is just such an amazing opportunity to just grow and just really learn another side of yourself, because that's the truth. If we're not growing, right, we're dying. And we're all heading that way. But the truth is there's all this amazing life to keep living. And it's like, it's so human to like want to test yourself and see if you can do more. And I feel so blessed that the people that I've been able to work with and that I get to call into my space are these people that are like curious. They're interested. They know they want something different. They want something more. And they just need a little extra support and guidance to see. They need to be able to talk it out and they need to feel safe and they need to trust. And they need to trust in themselves. They need to trust in you. And that's what all of you guys need, just like I need. Doing something like this, like doing a podcast and doing these episodes, It's like free therapy in a lot of ways because there's nothing that I'm not talking about or doing with you guys that isn't so on point of exactly what I need to hear and need to be reminded because whether you're a coach, a consultant, you're on top of your game, you still have the opportunity to keep expanding and growing. And so what I ask of you out of today's episode is I ask you is like, what does success mean to you? And have you really thought about what success is outside of the financial end or what it might look like? And if you say that it has nothing to do with money, I do ask you to lean into that a little bit more and ask yourself, is that really true? Or are you just saying that because that's what you hope it means? Because that's one thing I realized that I would say that it wasn't about the money, but it really was because of all of these other aspects of my life that were so connected to it because that's where my self-worth lied. And I was even lying to myself at sometimes about how much it was about money because that's what I was raised. That's what I was told. They didn't do it to hurt me. It was just what they thought. It's where they came from, right? They thought the more money you had, the more success you had, the safer you were, right? I think at the end of the day, they didn't want to hurt me. They wanted me to be safe. They wanted me to be protected. And I see it even now with my own daughter and my children. I ultimately constantly think, am I pushing her because I want her to have that big job? I want her to make sure she's safe and that she's provided for and that she doesn't have to rely on anybody else. I think it's the way we're programmed. It's innate. We want people to be safe and to be seen, but also, in the same breath, well, so what we want you to be happy. Happy, yes, but I think to truly get to ultimate happiness, you have to really spend time with yourself and you have to be confident. You have to have strong self-esteem. You have to be really clear of who you are. And I don't think a lot of us truly know that unless you have done some really good internal work and you've spent some time, if you spent deep meditating time, I know a lot of people that have worked really close in different religious aspects, and they have truly gotten to work through their own insecurities because they got closer to God. Whether you do it through plant medicine, whether you do it through therapy. I mean, there's so many aspects of it, but you do need to spend time really unraveling and working through your programs, what you were programmed, what you were believed, and ask yourself, are you doing that for you or are you doing that for your parents? Are you doing it because you think that's what makes other people happy? That is a hill and a mountain I am still ultimately working on. I'm proud of myself that I've taken this opportunity to these last couple of years to really unravel. And every month, every season is a new opportunity for me to grow and to develop and to continue to work to be the best version of myself. And so I ask you guys for a little bit of your takeaway and your homework is like, what are you doing to truly spend time with working on the feelings or the season that you're in? And are some of those limiting beliefs and those insecurities that you carry holding you from exactly where you want to be and what you want to do? What kind of friends do you have around you? What's your community? And ultimately, are they supporting you and building you up? Or are they keeping you stagnant? Or is it you? Or is it somebody else? Are you afraid of the unknown, right? Are you really scared of change? A lot of us are, but it's inevitable. And the sooner you can get comfortable with it, the sooner you can make peace with it, I think there's like just so much potential on the other end. Well, I think that is a perfect place to leave this first solo episode of Mind Your Mouth. Again, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity that you will spend time with me, that you'll listen to some of these things and your feedback and getting into the community and being around us and working with us. The wisdom for today that I'm going to leave you with is what is one thing you can do today to raise your own vibe? What is one area in your life that is so great that you can spend a little extra time and you can put your mind there? So I want to leave you with this. Make sure that you keep your energy and your focus on the positive because where your mind goes, your energy flows. Until the next time, I'll see you guys on the next episode of Mind Your Mouth. Bye.